Okay, so I did what I did last week, which was nothing during the week, and then so far this weekend, today's Sunday, yesterday I went out for a 40-minute run, easy, and that's 5 minutes longer than last week's. And then the weather's awful today, so instead of doing an hour and a half on the bike, I did 45 minutes this morning, which was supposed to be at level 2, but I hadn't adjusted my FTP, so it was a very top end of level 2, bottom of level 3, 45 minutes. And now I'm back on the turbo again for another 50 minutes. And I'm going to do 3 sets at 30 seconds at 311 watts. That's zone 4. No, it's not, it's zone 5. And then, no, it is zone 4, upper zone 4, and 30 seconds recovery. 4 lots of those per set, 3 sets, with 5 minutes recovery in between. And that's gonna have to do me for this week. I can definitely accept it this week a bit better than I could last week. I felt really defeated last week. I would have done a little bit more in terms of duration this week than I did last week, but only by a few minutes here and there. But ultimately it's been another very busy week, and Bex has been off to radiotherapy every single day this week, and she has one more session on Monday, one more session and we're done. So it'll just be a case of tests and appointments, but treatment wise it'll just be a case of getting her fixed and healthy and back to full strength, which could take up to a year, they say. So but hopefully there'll be some level of normality restored. And Thursday I finished teaching this week, and hopefully that'll all come together for Christmas and we can have a nice relaxed time and get into some sort of routine. Anyway, this first 30-second effort is going to start in 5 seconds, so I'm going to plonk you up here and you can watch the agony ensue. Here we go. I wonder how I'm going to hold these efforts and do 12 of them, but you sort of do somehow, don't you? Recovery. First one. Okay, so that's the first set done. I won't bore you with the whole session today, but that's my training really. There have been some other cool things that have gone on this week. Some news to do with the stage planning, some new bike news, and my thoughts on Challenge Daytona really. So here they come. Right, let's talk about last Sunday's PTO and Challenge Daytona race, which I watched all the way through live stream until it dropped out at the last minute of the men's race. But anyway, let's not talk about that. Fantastic event, really enjoyed it. Just talk about the actual kind of circumstances of that first of all. I really like the way Challenge approach races anyway. I always have done. I think that they are less money grabbing than it appears Ironman seem to be. Certainly over this year I've heard some horror stories about the way that Ironman are kind of treating their athletes and the way they're kind of dealing with it business-like, their sort of methods. Not so sure I agree with all of that. I really like what PTO are trying to do in regard to levelling the playing field between genders, paying out equal prize pots. I know that the male and female winners of the race at Daytona got the same sum of $100,000. I know the entire prize purse was over $1 million, and I know that because the field was a little bit smaller, every single female finisher of the race on Sunday got some money, which is the way it should be, and that's what I want to see from a sport that I love. I'm not really a big fan of the kind of money-grabbing corporate kind of angle on it. Anyway, let's talk about the race itself.
I thought Paula Findlay raced incredibly well. I'm a big fan of her and her partner Eric Lagerstrom. I love their channel. I'll put a link to it up here. That Triathlon Life. It's really interesting following them through this season. In fact, the last race that Paula Findlay did was Challenge Daytona exactly a year ago. And I just can't imagine for professional triathletes what it must be like trying to motivate and train and maintain that high level of performance for an entire year with, I guess, with minimal income apart from sponsorship money, but also with actual no racing. She raced brilliantly. The courses, it was a 2K swim, 80 kilometer bike, and then an 18K run. I love how it attracted both short course and long course athletes, and of course the prize purse helped with that too. It was really interesting to see the comparison between the two. I thought Paula Findlay ran an amazing race overall. Annie Haug, who was also tipped as a favourite for the race, got a 2-minute penalty. There seems to be some confusion as to how, but I think the beginning of the bike was a bit of confusion. I think she got a drafting penalty. She got a 2-minute penalty right at the beginning of the run, but she finished more than 2 minutes slower than Paula Findlay. I think it was about 2 minutes 36. The kind of question whether if she hadn't had that penalty, would she have won? I think it's kind of a moot point really ultimately, because we also didn't see what Paula Findlay would have been like under any pressure. She was out front for the entire time on her own, and I think if she had had somebody on her shoulders, she would have pushed deeper anyway. So absolutely amazing races from Paula Findlay and from Annie Haug. Incredible run leg from Annie Haug. British women did absolutely brilliantly in sort of top 10, I think. There was a top 4 and a top 7 place, a 4th and a 7th place for some Brit racers. And then the men's race was equally as enthralling and actually probably the most exciting run finish I've ever seen, or maybe even the most exciting race I think I've seen, certainly in years, where it wasn't really until the last 5K that you had any clue who was going to win this race. In fact, it probably wasn't even down until the last couple of kilometres that you had any idea who was going to win. It was won by Gustav Iden, who came in first place, but up until the last minute it was difficult to kind of really know who was going to win. Matt Hansen came in second place, but then the real surprise for me was the Brit George Goodwin, who came in third and was right up there at the beginning. I never really knew who George Goodwin was. I was in a conversation with a couple of mates on Messenger, and one of my friends, John, was like, watch out for George Goodwin, he's an absolutely fantastic racer. I knew nothing about him and he's definitely one to watch for the future. Ali Brownlee went off at the front of the run, and I must admit thinking, well, this is it, it's a foregone conclusion, Ali Brownlee's going to nail this. He pulled up with a calf problem into the run, and I just it was so exciting. It was absolutely fascinating and exciting to see these short course and long course racers actually head to head and see kind of who came out better and which training was kind of doing what. Now, I must admit personally, I think a shorter run would have made it even more interesting if it had been a 15K run with an 80K bike and a 2K swim. But anyway, I think the 18K format for the run was absolutely fantastic. More power to PTO, more power to races like this at Daytona, where you can actually see what's going on. I much preferred watching Daytona over Kona. They had the cones set out on the race course so that you could see 20 meters apart. Worked perfectly with the women. For the men's race, less brilliant. Because I had an issue where the fast bike riders who came onto the course after a slow swim sort of jammed it up a little bit, where the front riders on the bike who came out to swim first, at one point Ali Brownlee was actually sat up stretching on his TT bike because he had to keep dropping back, and I think that's possibly why the commissaires gave them a little bit of leeway with the 20-meter rule, because it was just so congested. That is something that I think they could maybe sort out by having 2 lanes, and if you're an overtaking rider then you have to go into the outside lane. I know you have to go further that way, or the other way around. Maybe the rider that's been overtaking needs to go out into a slightly wider position. Anyway, that is something that they kind of need to have a look at, but it was incredibly exciting and incredibly brilliant to watch, because you just knew where everybody's position was on the race course at any given moment because you could see it. It was all in this same zone. The swim was right in the middle of the race course, the run was around the race course, and then the bike ride was around the race course, and so was the run. It was just brilliant. Want to see more races like that personally. If they could all be run like that, I'd be over the moon. Speaking of bikes...
Hello, Ted Long. My name's Ted. How can I help you?
Ned? Ned Ryerson?
No, sir, Ted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Ned. I can see from your website that you've got the in a 56 in hot pink. Could you just tell me if that's the case? I'm being told by the manufacturer's dealers that the current lead time's 144 days. That's the start of May, and if you have the bike in stock right now, I'll buy it right now.
But you said you wouldn't order the bike until you were under 100 kilos. You're not under 100 kilos.
No, I know that was the plan, but when I saw the lead time was 144 days, I began to panic that if I ordered it once I was under 100 kilos, it wouldn't be here ready for the end of June when I start my own Grand Tour.
That's reasonable.
Thanks, Ted.
That's okay. You have to remember that although I'm keen to make a sale, I'll always have your best interests close to my heart.
That's incredibly kind, Ted. I care for you very much too.
So, okay, I've checked the stock. We do have that particular bike in stock in super hot pink. I can see it from where I'm stood. I can't look at it directly as it hurts my eyes, but it's there, in a 56. Are you interested in that bike?
I'll be honest, Ted, in my lifetime I've ridden bikes since I was about 4. The only brand new bikes I've ever had were a Rally Striker, a Halford's Carrera Corsa Speed, that was my first racing bike, and then my Felt TT B16 bike. Everything else has either been second hand or built up from bits like my Cube TT bike, so this will only ever be the 4th new bike I've ever bought. Despite being into cycling and being passionate about it since the mid-1980s, I'll admit to it being quite a big deal for me.
I'm sorry, what was that? I was just helping another one of the staff members.
Don't worry, Ted. It's not important. What is important, what's very, very important, is that you have the bike, and I would like to buy that bike, Ted.
Well, that's exciting. Let me tell you about the pedal-on point system that we have in place.
Now, actually, this is quite an interesting point. They have a pretty good deal of these pedal point system that I need to get my head around. It almost seems too good to be true. And until I know for sure whether it's right or not, I'm not going to talk about it because it seems too good to be true. I'll get back to you when I know for sure whether it's right or not. Ted, that really is quite something.
Yes, sir, isn't it?
Right, Ted, I'd like to order that bike.
Right, sir. What's your name?
My name is J.R. Hartley.
Sorry, sir, what was that?
My name is J.A. Hester.
Righto, that's all logged and deposit taken. That bike's yours now, and I'll get on with PDIing it for you now, ready for collection, sir. If that's everything, I must be getting on with that right now.
Getting on with what, Ted? Sorting out the drainage in the lower field?
No, sir. Doing the PDI on your bike.
Oh, yes, indeed. Very good. Right, carry on then, Ted. Thank you. Speak to you soon.
Goodbye, sir.
Right, to finish up with some logistics stuff to do with my own Grand Tour that I'm doing next year, I've got stages 1 to 9, which takes me up to the race, to rest day, absolutely finished and completely organised. I've got to do the recon on them. It gives me a total of 12 stages. I'm now over the hump. I want to get all of the stages planned by next weekend, and I also want to get my Just Giving page up by next weekend as well. So that's all done and dusted, and I can start putting that out over the Christmas break for people to start joining me. I also think once I start seeing people signing up to do stages with me, it'll also give me that added impetus that the last couple of weeks, understandably so, I've struggled with. But today, a few hours ago, Bex finished her last radiotherapy session, and so far as we know, and touch wood, literally touching wood, at the minute, as far as we know, other than kind of checkups, that is the end of the treatment that started on the 21st of May and has completely consumed us the whole time, and I can't help thinking that today is quite a big thing, and I'm not sure I can really put into words what it means at the minute. I'm not sure that it would be a good idea to overly think about that right now. Today is also the first day of the last week of term, so by Thursday I will have finished teaching, Bex will finish the treatment, and we'll have a little clear run at getting ourselves up together for Christmas. It could take Bex a long time to recover from the chemo radiotherapy, but that starts today. That starts now. So it's time to kind of get on with it and get everything back together. So have a great week. Thanks for watching. Send me a message if you kind of feel like give me a bit of motivation. I want to put more miles in this week. Let's see what the weather holds. Otherwise, it's back on the turbo. See you next week. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And hopefully the tier system and everything will settle out for everybody ready in time for Christmas. See you next Monday.